Hi, my name is Macy Willie Cahill. I graduated from Sam Houston State University in December of 2017 with a degree in fashion merchandising. I loved my time there. I enjoyed the sewing classes. I did several presentation classes, and I actually think my presentation class with Dr. Burleson, I can't remember the name of it, a merchandising class of some sort, probably is really what pushed me to go into this field. I had no idea what I was doing. We go into class and I think drew numbers for a display case there in the fashion merchandising building, and basically your job was to fill it up and merchandise with it. And with that class, I really learned the fundamentals of how to merchandise. And you know, everything can't be taught from a textbook, but learning the fundamentals, I was able to use my creativity and just getting more experience to learn how to merchandise. And I learned that that's definitely the field that I wanted to go into. I was able to just use my creative juices and put my own little twist on it. And again, after that class was over, I knew that any sort of merchandising and visual display was definitely something that I was going to be interested in. That was definitely probably my favorite class in the Family and Consumer Sciences building. Whenever I was at Sam Houston, I rodeoed on the Sam Houston rodeo team, and when we would go from town to town in these coliseums, they would have boutiques set up. And of course, the second that I was done barrel racing or whatever I was doing, I could not wait to race back upstairs and go shop in all those little boutiques. And I just remember thinking, God, this would be so much fun to have. I mean, if you could just have a boutique like this that traveled everywhere, go to these rodeos, you'd just never have to work a day in your life, which that part was not accurate. You do have to work, but it does make it a lot more fun. So once I started seeing that more and more, I really started leaning away from event planning and becoming a wedding planner. And I thought, you know, maybe this traveling boutique thing is for me. I'd never worked retail. I worked through high school and college, but I had worked at insurance offices and real estate offices, which was great, and I learned a lot of knowledge there, but I knew really nothing about retail. But I just knew that that's where I needed to be, which that led to my internship, which was with Charlie One Horse in Garland, Texas. And after I completed that internship, which was through Sam Houston, I opened Dusty Diamonds. I went down to the courthouse, got my little DBA, and started little bitty, teeny tiny. And that's when Dusty Diamonds was born, in spring of, I guess it'd be 18. And started traveling around to rodeos. I made everything that I sold at that point. And I traveled for the first year and ended my little traveling run in Vegas at the National Finals Rodeo. It was a 2-week show, so I was about dead when it was finished. And that probably burnt me out a little bit. So in the spring of, that would have been spring of 09, I opened my first little storefront in Huntsville. It was 500 square feet. It was little bitty, but I started small, and that's kind of just how I got going and how I got started. I really planned on being there about a year. I thought that I was like, well, you know, Huntsville's small. I don't know if, you know, it can support another little boutique. So, but I didn't, like I said, I didn't have any retail experience. So I thought that I would start small and learn the ropes, work out the kinks without being tied into a huge expensive lease. But I knew at some point College Station was where I wanted to wind up. I just felt like it's a big small town, and I think that my vibe fits very well over here. So like I said, I didn't want to start off big in an expensive lease over here until I kind of learned the ropes a little bit more. So I started in that spring, and luckily Huntsville was super sweet and they supported me, and we grew every year. So you don't want to fix something if it's not broken. So I ended up being over there for 9 years, which I thought I was going to be there a year. And from there, we grew from a 500 square foot space into a 1,300 square foot space. So in this, I guess it was January of 17, I closed the store in Huntsville. It was so sad. I loved being there. And then I moved to College Station, which is where we are now, and made the big leap. I thought it was gonna be a year after I opened, but I ended up being in Huntsville for 9 years, since Huntsville was so awesome and supported me. So thanks everybody for that, and I know Sam Houston was a big part of that. But since February of 17, We have been over in College Station on Rock Prairie, and we're in the right spot. Whenever I was growing up and was going to school at Sam Houston, I would come over here to shop if I just didn't want to go to the Woodlands for whatever reason. And there's a bunch of great boutiques in College Station, but the problem that I found was none of them were really me. So I would kind of save up my money to come over here and shop, and then there wasn't any place where I was really spending my money. So that's what really pushed me to come here, because there was a niche market that wasn't being filled, and I felt that my style could fill that void. And like I said, College Station's kind of a big small town with a little bit more of a Western vibe, I guess. And I'm not really a Western store, but I'm definitely not traditional either. So that's what made me choose College Station. So here I am, 11 years later. My advice for a student coming, or either going into college, or even if they're just graduating from high school, work, get a job. I know it's something that a lot of people don't want to hear anymore, but as a business owner, I get resumes in all the time, and a lot of them might be a senior in college, or they might be a freshman, or whatever, and there is zero work experience on there. So I always worked through high school and through college, and I loved my time there. I do wish that I had worked more in the field that I was going to go into. If you can learn the business, again, on someone else's dime, and learn the ins and outs of this business, or whichever business you're going to go into, before it's all on your penny, that makes a huge difference. Again, I had never worked retail before I opened Dusty Diamonds, which I would not recommend. But so I just really had to learn everything through trial and error. And luckily I ended up loving the field that I did go into. But what if I hadn't? And I hear a lot of people say that. They're like, I went to school and I got this degree and whatever it may be, and then they all of a sudden graduate and go to work, and they're like, this isn't what I want to do at all. I feel like I've wasted my time with this degree. So learn it as you're going through school, and you will be able to get so much more out of your degree in these classes and the knowledge that you're learning, because it's relevant to you at the time and you understand it a little bit more, and it'll make you a better employee and it'll make you a better student at the same time.